Hey there, my name's Nicole Young, and in this video, I'm gonna be showing you my top 5 favorite camera menu settings. Let's get to it. I'm going to be showing these camera settings using my FUJIFILM X-T3, but it doesn't really matter what type of camera you have. These settings are, for the most part, going to be in your camera menu settings as well. So if you use a Canon, a Sony, a Nikon, then you're probably going to be fine. You may need to look at your camera manual just to find the specifics for the settings and where they are located. Now there's one small exception. If you're using a DSLR as opposed to a mirrorless camera, then the last setting that I'm going to mention probably won't apply to you. Let's go ahead and jump to it. The first menu setting is the clipped highlights. It's usually going to be called highlight alert. What this does is it shows you the areas in your photograph that are completely pure white. This is represented in the photograph by the area blinking. Now, most of the time, you're probably not going to want to have large sections of your image pure white. For example, if you're photographing a landscape, you don't want the sky to be completely overexposed. But keep in mind that this setting does not show you if your image is overexposed. It only shows you if there are areas that are pure white. Times when you may actually want to have a pure white area are if you're photographing, let's say, a studio setting with a white background. You may want to have that background pure white, so that blinking area is actually going to help you determine whether or not you have a pure white background. The second menu setting is the electronic level. This is a very helpful tool. It helps you keep your horizon level. This setting is helpful for all types of photography. I do a lot of landscape photography and I do find it very useful, but a lot of the times I can actually tell if the horizon is level without using the electronic level setting. So when I'm photographing other things that you don't really have a visual horizon in the background, it's actually really helpful because you are able to level your camera without any visual clues inside of the photograph. Now, of course, if you have a crooked photo, you can always crop it in post-processing, but if you get it right in camera, then you are less likely to have to crop out parts of the image, so that way you get the full resolution of your file, especially if you have that horizon level to begin with. The third option is to set up a back button focus. Now, the way that the camera typically works when you have it set to autofocus is you press the shutter button and it focuses the lens and it creates an exposure at the same time. Setting up a back button focus allows you to use a separate button to focus the lens, and then the shutter button is just going to create the exposure as usual. This way you are able to control the focus a little bit better. For example, if you want to preset the focus and then wait for that shot to happen, then this is a really good option. Because sometimes when you press that shutter button, it might still be looking for something to focus on, so you're gonna miss that moment while your camera's kind of like zooming in and out or focusing in and out. If you were to preset the focus with the back button and then just wait, and then right as soon as you're ready, press that shutter button, it's just gonna allow you a lot more control with that type of setup. On my Fujifilm camera, what I do is I make sure that the function button in the back is set to AF lock. So that means that I can focus with that button. And then I just set my camera to manual focus. Now it kind of seems counterintuitive, but what happens there is I can still autofocus the lens by pressing that back button. And then if I use the shutter button, it doesn't really do anything aside from expose the image and create the shot. Number 4 is to set the camera so you cannot create a photograph unless you have a card inside of the camera. This is something I always set right away because it really sucks when you have your camera, and I've done this before, and you think you're creating photos and then all of a sudden you realize there's no SD card in my camera and I just did nothing. So if you set this, your camera won't even let you do anything. And depending on the camera, it's gonna give you a different warning. And mine just doesn't let me do anything. It doesn't even focus. It doesn't do anything until there's a card inside of the camera. So that's a great setting to make sure you have set. The last setting, and this is the one that's going to pretty much be limited to mirrorless cameras, is focus peaking. And those of you who've used this know exactly what I'm talking about. This is a fantastic feature. It really helps you find those focus areas, especially when you're really trying to fine tune your focus spot. Now what it does is it basically creates little highlights along the edges of whatever is in focus. And you can usually change the color of the actual peak that's showing. On my Fujifilm camera, I can choose from a white, a red, a blue, or a yellow. So it's actually really friendly, especially if you can see certain colors better than others, or it lets you kind of change it depending on your scene. Like if you're photographing something that's red, then you're probably not going to want to use the red focus peaking, and you'll switch that over to maybe blue or white. That's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, and if you want to be notified whenever I have a new video out, go ahead and click that bell icon too. That's going to notify you inside of YouTube whenever something new is released from my channel. Take care, guys.